DBS community, welcome back to another video with Chris. Today we're going to be going over a Super Saiyan God Trunks deck profile for set 20. Now this is a list that I did make that encompasses a side deck as well for the current meta. This is a deck that I think is a very good pick if you don't have the Cumber promos and you don't want to play Cumber. This is a good Black Saiyan deck to play going into the regional season. I think it's very good. It has a lot of fair matchups across the board. The Gogeta matchup is 50-50. I actually think this deck has a better matchup against Golden Frieza than Cumber does. And we'll kind of get into that when I get into some of the tech cards in this deck. So we'll go over the leader real quick, and then the deck, and then I do have the side deck and the Z deck as well for you guys to kind of look at. So, and also we'll leave a link down below if you guys want to check out the actual deck in its entirety. So, the leader, if you guys don't know, Trunks is a, you pitch, or I say you warp a card from your hand that is a Saiyan to draw 2. That is very powerful. This means on your awakened turn, you're drawing 2 cards off of the leader side, or off of the unawakened side, I should say. 1 off of your awaken, and when this card attacks, it does draw 2 and warp 1 from hand. So you're cycling, what, 5 cards on your awakened turn, which is crazy for a black deck to do. You do awaken when you have 5 or more Saiyan cards in your warp. These can be any color Saiyan, so that is also something to keep in mind for later builds. I know there was like a red black variant of this deck when Vegeta Resolve Renewed was not limited to Vegeta leaders. I thought that was a really cool idea. It was a really cool idea, but unfortunately the card did get eroded. And on the awakened side, again, as I said before, you do when you swing, you draw 2 to warp 1 card from hand. You are a 15k blocker. Blockers, if your Unison gets attacked, you do get to restand. You will not be able to block that next attack, but that same attack, but you can block the next attack. And there's an activate main, Spirit Boost 1, and cost 1 black. You take 2 battle cards from your warp, add them to your drop area, and you get to warp a battle card on board. Now this is cool. This also can set up Overwhelm, which is, it's like a weird 1-drop version of Demigro's +1, which is kind of cool. You also do get to warp something on play, and it's any energy. So this could be a token, this could be a secret rare, it doesn't matter what it is. So this is, I believe, a 55 card main deck, and honestly, you can probably go up to like 57, 58 and still be pretty consistent. You might just need to add some better, some more Self-Awakeners. But deck is mad consistent. When you get it, when you get to that 57, 58 mark, you might have to add more of the, as I said, the Self-Awakeners, which we only run 1 in this deck, which is going to be the Sun Gohan challenging a Demon God. There's a Goten. As I said, if you get up to like the 58 mark, you're probably going to want to run at least 2 Gotens. This card can be played from the warp for 1 black. When it's played, you get to warp up to the top 3 cards of your deck. So the idea is that you pitch this to draw 2, and then you play this out for 1, mill 3 more to your warp. Hopefully you hit 3 Saiyans, and this card also has blocker, so it is a 10k blocker. The Goten, I think you can Spirit Boost on top of it it gets crit for the turn, and that part doesn't really matter too much, but it does have the same activate main. You can play it from the warp. 2 of the 1-drop Trunks duty of Time Patrol. This is a searcher, searches top 5 for a Saiyan that costs 4 or less, or a black Unison. We basically just use it to search out the Unison. You also search out copies of Goten and a few other cards in the deck, but it's not that reliable. We also don't like paying 1 energy for this when the card can't actually attack or stop any attacks. 2 Super Saiyan 3 Trunks, challenging a Demon God. This is a 20k unique. You can play from the warp if you have 3 or more energy, and you have to Spirit Boost in order to play it as well. So Spirit Boost and one black. This card's played if you have 10 or more cards in your warp for a permanent. This card gains double strike. So this is a 1-drop double striker you can play from the warp. This card's very powerful. It is unique and in very specific terms to be able to play it to get its full power. So that's why we only run 2 of it. 1 Dark Broly Heartless Berserker. This is an Overwhelm. There are better Overwhelms to play, but this card has 2 different effects. 1, fact that we can play it from the warp, which is very good because we're going to have this card in the warp, and 2, we can pitch this card off of our leader side to draw 2 cards, which is the best part about this card. We see this card in our hand, it's going to the warp in one way or another, whether it's off of our activate main off our leader, off of a pitch effect, or off of our other side of our leader where we get to draw 2 and pitch 1. The Unison is going to be the Supreme Kai opposing the Empire, so this is the Unison you have to play in this deck. Unfortunately, you have to play a Unison in this deck, so you are susceptible to getting black smoked. It is what it is. The Unison doesn't make the deck, but it definitely gives you a huge power boost. So the +1, you get to warp the top 3 cards of your deck. That part's not amazing, but it is a +1. The auto on this card is when you play a card from your warp, you can draw a card and add a marker to it. So one thing you can do is play Dark Broly from the warp and draw the card. You can play your secret rare, which you probably guessed which secret rare we're going to play in this deck. You get to draw off your secret rare, right? Like, that's really cool. The Trunks here, you can draw off of that. You can draw off of the Goten, or off the Gohan, or the Goten, I guess. But anything you play from the warp, once per turn, you do get to draw a card. This is very good. Tons of synergy with this card. You could probably get it past 7 markers pretty quickly, but if your opponent just black smokes this on turn 2 or turn 3, it is gone. But that is kind of what you have to play around. If they're going to black smoke, they're going to black smoke. If they don't black smoke, they don't black smoke. I think a lot of decks are not going away from playing like 3 black smoke, 4 black smoke, and they're like in their main and their side. They might still play 1 or 2 for decks that do play Unisons, but there's not a ton of decks that play 2-drop Unisons anymore. It's basically Gogeta, and I think that's it. No one else really plays 2-drop Unison, so it's mainly used to remove battle cards and stuff. So, but it still is a very good card to run. 2 Super Saiyan God Trunks, and then we have our overall package here. So, the Super Saiyan God Trunks Power of Awaken. This card is not nearly as good as it used to be. Gohan promo basically makes this card unplayable against against red. You cannot play this card against red. You play it for 2, they tap 1, play Gohan, card dies. And now you just lose the effectiveness of what this Trunks is there for. It's there mainly to pitch. You also can charge one of it, so it is a good charge. But it's crazy how powerful this card actually is, and how it gets just completely demolished by a 1-drop promo. It's absolutely redundant. But if you do get to attack with this card, it is a dual attacker. When it attacks, you put 3 black battle cards from your warp back to your drop. Allows you to fuel another overrealm, which is very, very important. And when it gets removed from battle area, it's removed from game instead. So again, it doesn't go to the drop area, which would be great. It just dies. So it is what it is. Now we have the SS4 combination here. So we have 3 Beyond All Limits and 3 Heated Fighting Spirit. This card, not a ton of people have it. It is kind of expensive, so if you don't have that card, you also can use Feign Greeting, but it's just not nearly as good. So Super Saiyan 4 Sun Goku, we know what this card is. It's been around for almost ever now. Searches out a battle card between 3 and 7 from your warp added to your hand, so it's basically a draw, right? And then Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. It's an Overwhelm 6. You can play it. It warps any battle card on play, so very similar to Dark Broly. Also, you can play it for 1 black if you have this Goku in play. It's just a Goku Xeno with 30k power, I think 30k power or more. Yeah, it should be 30k power or more. So you can play it off of this guy. You can basically overwhelm out Goku, tap 1, play Vegeta, and it also gains crit for that turn. So it's a 30k crit that warps something on play, and it sticks around because you played it off of the activate main, not off the overwhelm. So now you have a 30k body on board just for 1 energy. Very, very powerful card. This combination is nuts in most black decks, and works very, very well in this deck as well. 1 Thwarting. We're playing Goku and Vegeta. We're going to play Thwarting. Again, just another very, very good 1-drop. 2 Super Saiyan 4 Sun Goku Otherworldly Infiltrator. So we want to run a kind of the lower to the ground overall. This is probably one of the better ones to run. I was running the 4-drop Solidarity Guardian Trunks because it's a draw 1 4-cost overwhelm that draws a card and goes up to 25k. I think it's very powerful. With this card, you can basically play this for overwhelm 5 for free. You draw the card, and now it's a 20k crit. Again, more pressure, which goes very well with the next card here, which is the Masked Saiyan Belligerent Warrior. We do also run 3 Time Regulator Trunkses. Again, it's another small overwhelm card to run. It's not as good, but if we can't fit, a turn where we have 6 overwhelm, we can play this guy out and hopefully warp like a Dark Broly, warp a fusion piece for Gogeta, different things like that. It's just also there just as a charge card, right? It's just, sometimes you're gonna just need to charge a card. Masked Saiyan Belligerent Warrior, when you play a card with overwhelm, this card gains crit. You play it for 1, it warps 2 battle cards on board for the until the end of your opponent's next turn, and it gains crit. So you can go, you can do some pretty wild turns. So like you can either go like Otherworldly Infiltrator, Masked Saiyan, Gogeta on the same turn. That's a 20k crit, 20k crit, 25k double strike. You can go Sun Goku Beyond All Limits, heated fighting spirit, and then a belligerent Saiyan for 2 energy. Like, there's different combinations that you can do, but belligerent is just a very powerful card to have. You also can grab it off of the Goku as well, which is kind of nuts. So you can go Goku, grab the belligerent warrior, play Vegeta, swing for 30k crit, swing for 30k, play this, swing for 20k crit. That's quite a bit of pressure, and then possibly have a Gogeta in hand as well. 3 Kais, 2 Gohans. This is kind of part of our defensive package, and then I believe the 3 Pans as well. Here, this is kind of our defensive package here. Kai, we get cards in the warp very easily. This card's going to be online. Gohan is a Saiyan for 1, so we can pitch it off of our leader. 2, it is a negate from the drop or the warp. 3, if we play this card from our warp, I think doesn't work. Never mind. But you can play from the warp with the drop to negate a battle card attack. That's pretty good. And like I said, it's just another it's like another Saiyan synergy card. So why wouldn't you play it, right? 3 Pan Challenging a Demon God. This card is actually very good in the current meta. So you play it. It's like a dormant. You play it. Does not negate the attack, but it goes into the counter window. You warp a card from your hand. And then for the rest of the turn, if your opponent attacks with a battle card, they have to warp 2 cards first. So very good against a lot of decks. A lot of decks are swinging with a lot of battle cards. You just have to get through the first attack. It shouldn't be that difficult because you're going to have blockers on board like Gohan. So you can play Gohan. You can play Pan, pitch a card, block with Gohan. And now your opponent attacks with any battle cards. You have to warp 2. Most of the time, they're just going to pass after that. But again, it's also just another Saiyan as well. 4 Goten, Time, Patrols, Charity. So this is what you play because we're going to have 5 or more cards in warp pretty early on, probably like turn 2 on. And we want to keep it at a high health. You don't need to just play Vegeta because it's a good super combo. We don't want to go down to 4. Gogeta's the thing. We don't want to go down to 4. So being able to stay above 4 life, and because you can awaken at 8 life technically in this deck, you want to make sure that your super combo is not dead. Also, this is always a 10k combo, so just in case you need to use it as a combo piece, you're going to always have a 10k combo. We have 2 of the Petrification, 3 of Support of the Dark Empire. This kind of rounds out our extra cards. You don't need to run too many of them. We want to be able to have as many battle cards as possible because we're going to be warping stuff. But these are just 2 of the best black extra cards you're going to run in most black decks. So got them in there. This is the special tech here. We have Rebellion Hammer. This is a card that probably people don't utilize a lot in many black decks, actually at all, which kind of surprised me. So this is it's a counter. It's a cost 2. You have to send 3 black battle cards from your drop to your warp to activate this, which isn't hard in a lot of black decks. Not even in this deck. You just have to have cards in your drop area. It's not that big of a deal. But the battle card being played, if it's 4 or less being played, it gets sent to the drop area instead of being played. This is very powerful, right? This is one of the few cards in the game that actually hits full power counter Android 21. That's really big, but it hits anything underneath that, and it goes right to the drop. And if you have 15 more black cards in your warp, this card gets its energy cost reduced by 1 enhanced, and then it becomes a 1 cost. Again, very powerful card. It's there to tech in against things like full power counter. Because we don't play Super Kamehameha in this deck. Again, we're not going down to 4. Shouldn't really be going down to 4 that much. You need to be able to stay at a high enough life and be able to function as a high life deck. So that's what we are using Rebellion Hammer instead. 1 Crack in Space Time. This is your double striker. Again, we don't have Champa. So most Saiyan black decks, you're just going to put in a Crack in Space Time. 15k plus double strike. It's a very good combo piece to hand up on leader. 3 Super Saiyan Cumber Berserk Barrage. This is one of the new cards from set 20. Your opponent has 2 more battle cards in play. You can play from your hand for 2. And if your leader is a black Saiyan, you draw a card and you keep any number of your opponent's battle cards. Basically, they're going to get Servant until the end of your opponent's next turn. If they're in rest mode, that means they're not restanding. And then this card either gains dual attack, double strike, or triple strike. A 2-drop, 30k dual attack, double strike that can basically board lock your opponent. It's a very good card. Also, it's a Saiyan, as you can see the theme here. So it's another good combo piece. Also, it's a 5k, which blows my mind that they made this card a 5k. One of the secret techs to most black Saiyan decks that people just, I guess, don't utilize is Indomitable Might, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. So this is a 30k dual attack, double strike, deflect energy, exhaust, double strike. You play it for 3 if your leader's a red or black Saiyan, and you have 3 or more Saiyans in your battle area and or energy area. So you're gonna more likely have that. When you play it off the activate main, you give your leader a base 5k until the end of your next turn, basically making your leader a 20k, which is good. That's a very big buff just to have. Against certain matchups, it might not be because most Z leaders can go to 20, but against like small spammy decks, that's pretty powerful. Also, just being able to give your leader another 5k for when you attack, is also very good. What makes this card really good is the activate is the on play auto. So what happens is when you play this card, your opponent warps a card from their hand, but then you get to choose 2 battle cards on board and neg them by 30k. So why this is good? For one, it gives black board removal, multiple board removal, which is something that black decks haven't really had a lot of. Most black decks can't remove multiple cards at a time. It just doesn't really happen. Why this card is good in the current format is because there's a card in yellow that black has no answer to, unfortunately, and that is Divine Transformation. This card in Golden Frieza is a nightmare, and in a lot of yellow decks, this is a nightmare card. Black does not have many tools to deal with it. You have Petrification, yes, but you still have to go through the blocker, right? And this card being able to neg it by 30k gets around the fact that it can't be removed or by KOing, right? So you can basically remove it from game via game mechanic. It also is a Saiyan, again, so if you do put it in the drop here for whatever reason, or in the warp for whatever reason, but this card is very good into that matchup. Also, it's very good into Yellow Sin. If your opponent plays Yellow Sin, they have the 8 drops out on board, you can play this, kill both of the 8 drops. Yes, this card have its skills negated, then you just got rid of their, their 9 drops, right? So this is a very powerful card for black decks to utilize, for black Saiyan decks to utilize. I hope more people actually start running this card. It's 3 energy, but in yellow matchups, you're probably not going to be able to aggro them. If you can't aggro them down, you have to be able to try to out mid-range them. And this is one way of doing that, being able to remove Divine Transformation. Last card is going to be Evil Saiyan, Malice Made Flesh. This is the secret rare you play in most black decks. I would say on almost like 90% of black decks. Warp something on play, ignoring barrier, burn a life, steal a battle card. First battle card they play per turn that's 7 or less, you get to steal. Why this is good against, we'll say something like Divine Transformation. Again, I believe if your opponent plays Divine Transformation, I believe you would get that card, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you actually would get it. It might not actually be able to be removed via skills, so that might be a problem. Which is it's not a huge deal, but it was the first card. It was the first card that I thought of was Divine Transformation. I think it can't be removed. Yeah, so it can't be removed by skills. That's what it was. So that's why the Gogeta is so important, because you're able to reduce its power by 30k. That will kill it. But a lot of the other battle cards you can just steal with Evil Saiyan. So they try to floodgate you. You can steal the floodgate. Now they don't get the floodgate effect. Being able to take them from 2 to 1 and then swinging in and killing them. It's basically your version of Champa. But again, it is the secret that you play. You also can play it from the warp, which is very important because you actually can warp this card off your leader effect, and it doesn't really matter that much. So that is the main deck. The not the side deck, but the Z deck here. We have a 7-card Z deck. We have 2 of the Pan Search for Another World. Yes, the top part is for Supreme Kai only. We don't really care too much about that. The bottom part, though, Bond 3 with cards with Xeno in its card name. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to the owner's warp. So you can warp a lot of your opponent's battle cards, because almost all of these cards have Xeno in their name. But not all of them. There's a decent amount of them that don't. All the ones you're going to be really sticking on board are going to have Xeno in it. And also Pan has Xeno as well, which means that you only need 2 cards on board for that. 2 of the Super Saiyan Blue Vegetos. This is to help self-awaken. And then we have 3 Majin Buu. This is by far the best Z battle card that Black has to offer. For 2 Z energy, you can absorb any battle card on board and gain 20k power until the end of your opponent's next turn, making this a 25k attacker or a 25k blocker, depending on what you want to do. So for the side deck, we have 2 Koitzakais. This is a card that you should be playing in this format. I don't know why I don't see a lot of decks playing it on their side for some reason. Your opponent wants the floodgate, they have to pay 2 energy. I mean, they have to pay 2 cards from hand, right? They have to warp 2 cards from hand. Any battle card being played at 20k or less. that's really good. I don't know why a lot of people don't play this, right? Hits Gohan promo, it hits Mecha Frieza, it hits Android 17 negate, it hits a lot of stuff. So it's weird that people don't play it. Also, into Android 21, you play this card, you pass your turn, they play tokens, they warp 2 cards from hand per token. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many little things of why this card's good, and in black decks it's very good because you're gonna mill it. You can put it in the drop area. You're always gonna have access to it. So yeah, at least 2 Koitsukai, if not more. 1 more Gogeta for the Golden Frieza matchup. Also, this card has Deflect. That was the other thing too. So this card has Deflect, so they can't cold bloodlust this card. So instead of paying 2 for evil for Malice Made Flesh, you can pay 3 for this. They can't cold bloodlust, so you can kill their Divine Transformation, remove big boss monsters on board, and then swing for 30k double strike. They'll probably end up negating it anyways, but you can at least get a card out of their hand for 1 and then remove stuff on board. We have 2 Kakarot, the one and only. It's a cool little tech card. It's really good against Red Sin because they don't really have a lot of barrier removal in Red Sin. So you play this card out for 2. They play the 8-drop. This card is Revenge. It's going to kill it. And then this card puts cards from your warp back into your from your drop back into your warp. So this also can fuel stuff for your thwarting as well too. So which is pretty cool. And you also can put your Secret Rare in there if it's in your drop area for some reason. 2 Gohan Silver Bullets. It's a cantrip that's also a Saiyan, so it has usage with that. Most blue decks, you're probably going to play Ghost Warrior, which we have here on the side as well. Because this affects a lot more stuff right now, but in case you play like a standard type of blue deck that's not an Android 21 deck, this is going to be good in that. 2 Broken Seal, just a very, very powerful card. You call Golden Cooler, you call Gogeta, call Vegito Xeno, even call Evil Saiyan. So there's a lot of cards you can call. Just a very good tech option. Also, it's on color, black, and being able to run on color tech side deck cards is good. As I said, again, 2 Ghost Warrior. You play this into the 21 matchup, you probably are just going to win the game because they can't play their A-drop. 2 black Smoke Dragons. We don't have a ton of barrier removal. So this is also for barrier removal, also just for unison removal as well if we absolutely need to. And I do have 2 Super Kamehamehas in the side. I said I wasn't running it in the main. There are matchups where this is not going to be as sufficient and you want to get yourself down to 4. So using Super Kamehameha will definitely be the option there. You don't have a lot of Self-Awakening in this deck, which is one of the things that I think the deck does lack. You don't have a lot of Self-Awakening. Your choices for Self-Awakening are kind of like True Fighting Spirit cards, which aren't great. I don't really care for those cards too much, but that's probably what you're looking at, or like something like Black Mass Saiyan. It's kind of what you're looking at for the Self-Awakening cards. So that is the Trunks deck. If you guys want to try it out, let me know what you guys think of it. I'll leave a link down below for the deck list if you guys want to copy the deck list yourself. You can do that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, thank you for the support, and I will see you guys in the next video.